Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today, we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today, we're going to be reviewing the Colorado Avalanche, as they had a pretty busy offseason, I guess, for themselves, as they were mostly worrying about re-signing both Gabriel Lenniskog and Cale, Makar, as they lost a decent amount of their team, and of course getting a starting goalie as well. But before we get into all that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated, boys. So let's get into talking about the Colorado Avalanche, as they have $2.3 million left in their salary cap going into this upcoming season. Of course, their biggest worries throughout this offseason was signing Gabriel Lenniskog, which there was some worries about not being able to get him back on the team. There was some real big concern. And of course, this is a big player that they wanted to get back on their team, right? Gabriel Landeskog is the leader, the captain of this team. He's one of the biggest and most important players. So now he's locked up with a big no-movement clause for the next 8 years here with Colorado. He had a fantastic season last year, having 52 points in 54 games, especially in the playoffs. He has just been a playoff performer, and this is a guy that you want to keep moving forward, especially once you get into that Stanley Cup final game. That is a guy that you want in your lineup. And then they also got Cale Makar to a huge $9 million deal, which this deal is definitely going to look good for sure. Cale Makar has just been absolutely crazy over the past little bit, or actually over like what, this hasn't he only played like 2 seasons, three years in the NHL now, and every single year he has just been more nuts and more nuts every single season. And I absolutely love him. He's a great offensive defenseman, but he could also play defense, and that $9 million contract for the next 6 years is going to look really well for Colorado. Otherwise, let's get into talking about the trades, which usually we get into first, which they didn't make a whole lot. They traded Ryan Graves to the New Jersey Devils, which is a big loss for the Colorado, but they had to worry about the expansion draft, and it was either that, you lost Ryan Graves for, something, or you lost him for nothing. So they got Mikhail Maltsev and a second round pick. I don't know a whole lot about Mikhail Maltsev, but for the fact that he had 9 points in 33 games throughout this past season, he doesn't look like that bad of a player. He's most likely going to be playing in the lineup this upcoming season, I'm guessing, for the Colorado Avalanche. I think he's a little bit of a goal scorer, so not a bad pickup, and a second round pick in the trade as well. Not looking like a bad trade for the Colorado Avalanche. Curtis McDermott goes over to Colorado for a 4th round pick. Definitely not worth it. He's just a big burly defensive defenseman who hits and fights a lot. Definitely maybe for a playoff run, I'm guessing, just to add some physicality to the team. And then they traded for Darcy Kuemper, they traded Connor Timmins, a 1st round pick, and a conditional 3rd round pick, which was a pretty good amount for Mr. Darcy Kuemper, but this was a goalie they needed, without a doubt. Darcy Kuemper is going to be their starting goalie going into next year. Of course, one of the biggest concerns about him is, can he stay healthy? But I think he can. Darcy Kuemper is really good. He had a bit of a down year, which we're going to take a look over a bit of his analytics. Now, make sure to go check out Jfresh. His link will be down in the description below for his Patreon. He has an absolute amazing Patreon and amazing player cards, which I'll be showing you one now here with Darcy Kuemper. And as you can see, Darcy Kuemper did not have the greatest year last year, and definitely had a bit of a down year. But if he could get back up to what he was doing in 1920 and 1819, then this could be a really good goalie for the Colorado Avalanche. And I think Darcy Kuemper can get up there. They made Philip Grubauer into that good of a goalie last year, and Grubauer in his own, he did have a very good season, no doubting Grubauer at all. But Darcy Kuemper, I think he's going to be able to bounce back and be a really good goalie and get back up to when he had years of 925 and 928, and especially when he was in the playoffs. They need a goalie like Darcy Kuemper. They seen him first up. They absolutely pummeled him with shots in that series against the Arizona Coyotes in the play-in round. So I think this is a really good move, and if Pavel Francouz comes back healthy next year, they could have a really good tandem going into next year. And that was the biggest problem last year, is they never had a tandem going for them. So very good move there. And then we move into the draft, which they did at their 1st round pick, and I thought their draft actually wasn't that bad. They drafted with their 1st pick was Oscar Olofsson, which is a winger. He was playing very good there this past season there with the junior 20 nationally at 27 7 points in 16 games. Not bad in the SHL. This guy, you know, he projects to be a top 6 guy, most likely a third line goal scoring guy, and this is some future stuff that they need. Another two-way winger, and this is kind of like maybe your future replacement for a Jonas Donskoi sort of deal. The rest of the draft wasn't too bad. They also picked up the brother of Cale Makar and Taylor Makar as well. And then moving into the signings, they didn't do a whole lot. They got Ryan Murray to a 1-year, $2 million deal, which I thought this was a really good deal. Ryan Murray's very good defensively. He doesn't have a bad two-way game. I think he could be a perfect defenseman for that Colorado core. And then they signed some depth players. They got Tyson Jost back to a 2-year, $2 million deal, which I thought was good. Darren Helm, another nice little depth piece. He's going to be mostly defensive, which they need some leadership there, and I think Darren Helm could bring that. I don't know how special of a player Darren Helm will be for the Colorado Avalanche. He's definitely no replacement to a Jonas Donskoi, and he definitely hasn't been as great over the past few years, so we'll see how well he does, but that speed will be pretty useful for the Colorado Avalanche. And then otherwise, of course, the Cale Makar move, and then they really didn't do a whole lot else. It was mostly just depth moves. So moving into the season, they did definitely lose a decent amount. You know, they lost Grubauer, they lost Jonas Donskoi, you know, they lost Brandon Saad, you know, they lost Namath, they lost a decent amount of players, and they didn't gain, you know, a whole lot. They're going to be relying a lot on Andre Burakovsky, and that's a big player that needs to take a big step up this year, you know, like, he, no doubt about it, he's a good performer, but, like, losing Brandon Saad this past season, I think is going to be a huge hit to that top 6, like, who's going to be playing there now? Is it going to be JT Conf, or maybe Tyson Jost will jump up, will Nukushkin maybe jump up and take that top 6 role, or will the young Alex Newhook maybe take over that spot as well, and can Nazem Kadri stop taking stupid, you know, hits in the playoffs and stay in the games during the playoffs as well? I think that'll be the biggest question. Their defense core, I gotta say, it's gonna be looking really good. You got Bowen Bryan gonna be probably playing his first full season. Ryan Murray, he's a really good defenseman, whether he's playing in the top 4 or the top 6. They got a really good top 4 if Erik Johnson gets back to where he's going, but I mean, even then, you got Bowen Bryan and Ryan Murray that could play up in that top 4 if Erik Johnson doesn't play as well. Devon Taves and Cale Makar were some of the best, probably the best duo for a defensive duo in the entire NHL. I think they're probably 2 of the best defensemen in the NHL as well. And I like their goaltending there, Kemper and Frank Kuhns. You know, they lost a decent amount with Grubauer, but they gained back in Kemper with a cheaper contract, and they didn't have to lock him up as much as they probably wanted to. You know, they only got him for the year, so now you could kind of look around the league and see what you want to do, or, you know, bring back in Kemper as your starting goalie. I don't think they got any future goalies coming up the pipeline. I don't think. No, they don't really got a whole lot, just Jonas Johansson. Perlo was saying that he was thinking that they were going to get Linus Ullmark. Sadly, they didn't. But I got to say, looking over this offseason for the Colorado Avalanche, losing Grubauer and Saad, you know, not gaining anyone in that top 6. Like, they didn't sign anyone in that top 6, which is kind of a hit for me. But they were able to get Landeskog back at a good contract, Makar back at a good contract, which is what their main focuses were. You know, they replaced Philip Grubauer with Darcy Kemper, which isn't a bad idea. I think I'm going to give this team, you know, a B+. It sucks that they lost on the goal scoring with Brandon Saad, but I think their young core will be able to bounce back for them. They got JT Compher, they got Alex Newhook, and who knows, maybe they got someone down there in the depth that is ready to go and ready to bounce in the lineup this year. Who the hell knows? So I'm really excited to see how well the Colorado Avalanche will do this year. I'm hoping they can make it further than the second round this upcoming season, and I'm hoping most of you Colorado fans are hoping for that, to see them get past the second round this season. So I don't know if this roster will be able to do it. I'm guessing they're going to be bolstered up once trade deadline comes around for that offensive core, and looking to add maybe another goal scorer is what I'm guessing. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Colorado Avalanche as offseason. I gave them a B+. What grade would you give them? Tell me in the comment section below. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Adios, amigos.